Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to a new album review. We've got two today. The first one we're going to look at is the brand new album from Feeder, Welsh rock band. We've got a few years, and this is their 12th album, and it's a double album, Black and Red. Now this came out on April the 5th, so it's been out quite a while, but due to the fact that it's a double album, it's taken me a little while to listen to this all the way through. Now it completes a trilogy that began with the 2022's Torpedo. The songwriter and guitarist Grant Nichols said that the decision was to release the album as a double was made with the listener in mind, describing it almost like a musical production with an interval. He described the album writing as musical pilgrimage and a labour of love. So these days Feeder are only got two official members, one being Grant Nichols on vocals and guitars and Taka Hirose on bass. So helping them do this, we've got Jeff Holroyd on drums on some of the tracks, Carl Brazil on drums on Elf and Playing with Fire, Brian Serber on keyboards, Steve Pearce on bagpipes. So for the first album is what is called Black. First track on there is a little intro called Droids. I like it. There's some nice keyboard. It's sort of in anticipation of what's coming next. And you know it may be a little bit dramatic because of the way that this builds up. And Elf, yes, it is dramatic. Bang in with some great Grant, heavy guitar riffs. His vocals are good, and I love that keyboard here from Brian Serber. Very, very good. Very heavy as well. Up next is Playing with Fire, and a taco bass line that everyone loves. You know it's Feeder from the minute you hear that. Love the keyboard quirk. It's very quirky, but it does towards the end fall a little flat. It starts off great and it sort of just goes down. Then we have Vultures. This is a great track, straight in with some drums, and the drums on this is Carl Brazil. Great track. Then my favourite track on this album, Black, is called Sahara. And it's that combination of the drums and keyboards. They sort of really mix up there. Very, very good track. Up next is Hey You. One of the gentler tracks on here. It's nice. It's not brilliant, but it's sort of after 5 really raucous tracks, we have to quiet it down. And it's pretty good. Up next is The Knock. Typical sort of Feeder sound, you know it's Feeder, them driving riffs, Grant's great vocal, a really good track. Perfume, another of my favourites on here. It's real heavy riffs, great drumming. Then we have AI Man. The bass line from Taka is great, but that's the only thing I like about it. The keyboard sound is a little bit different. I think it's, AI. I don't know if it's AI or anything, but yeah. So that's the last track on the Black album. So let's have a look at the Red album. Sleeping Dogs Lie. This is probably one of the heaviest tracks on the whole caboodle here. Great vocal from Grant, driving riffs, Taka's bass is booming. Excellent track. Scream. Now this starts off quite gentle. And you think, oh, we've got a gentle trot. All of a sudden, they crank everything up, and in comes the dynamic riffs and bass lines. Very, very good. Typical Feeder track, actually. Submarine. It's one of these subdued tracks. It's got some nice little power riffs in it, although it's gentle. Now and again, you get this sort of sound. It's really good. Lost in the Wilderness. Good track. It's got some driving riffs. A very solid track, actually. Memory Loss. Sounds too much like AI Man. Didn't like it very much. Unconditional, a bit of a rock poppy song. It's not too bad. But my favourite track on the Red album, is Here Comes the Hurricane. So much energy in this. The riffs are great. It's a sort of solid rock song. Soldiers, probably the weakest track of the whole of the albums. It just lacks something. It just needs a little bit more zing, I think. And this is the last track. Yeah, the last track, Ghost on Parade. A great little track. I love the guitar on this. It's not heavy, but it's really draws you in. Really good track. Okay, double album. You always have doubts about double albums, but boy, there's some good tracks on these two albums. Putting it up against Torpedo, I think this is the better of the two. I saved the best tracks sort of for these two albums. It's a pretty solid album. There's not really a bad track on these albums. There's one or two that I'm not as keen on, but on the whole, it's a really good album. I've really enjoyed this. Will it feature on the top 20? I don't know. There are so many good albums. We'll have to see when it gets to the end of the year. But for these two albums, which are absolutely classic sounding feeder, I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, up next, another new album from one of my favourite band from America, the Blue Oyster Cult. And that Ghost Stories. So we'll be having a look at that. Bye for now.